George and Marty set up the whole plan, right?
It's a bad plan.
It's a super illegal criminal plan. They sit there and they plan an assault on Lorraine. And George is in on the plan.
Conspiracy?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They're both good for it.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Doug Defense. This is the show where a real lawyer talks about fake movie things. I am Billy Business, and having a midlife crisis right over here to my right, he's supposed to be our lawyer, Doug Ridley.
Well, I am, and
would you wear this to the courthouse?
no.
I'll tell you which courthouse you would wear it to, though. The Hill Valley Courthouse.
Ready?
Okay. Oh, yeah. The things I will Photoshop into that.
Yeah. I just want to take a second to point out the fact that I've got the headphones.
No, you went all in.
I got the Casio calculator watch.
You did.
Right here, and
I mean, you got to go
I'm
all
not screwing
in
around.
because we're going all in.
All in
on Back to the Future.
We're
not
going
just
back
to the future. We're not doing just one, not two.
Right.
We're doing all three Back to the
the
Futures.
whole trilogy.
The whole trilogy.
It's going to be almost too much for our viewers to handle.
But not too much because you're here and we
We'll
love you.
We'll compress it into a timely 1 hour for you.
So there's a lot of legal things that we're going to get to. But first, let's give a bird's eye view of the whole thing. Obviously, this is the 40th anniversary of the first Back to the Future movie. 40 years.
That makes me feel really old.
Because I'm assuming you saw it in theaters as 13-year-old.
I did. I was 13, and there is a part of you right now that feels really, really, really cool.
I'm glad.
I mean, you know,
I'm hoping
I got
that
the
part
shirt.
of you counters the self-conscious part.
I'm not self-conscious at all.
I love it.
By the way, I think I'm wearing this to every Comic-Con, WonderCon, LA Comic-Con.
Probation hearing.
Probation hearing, absolutely. What, Your Honor? I can just put one of those like double ties.
Oh yeah,
on
do
from the second one,
because we were all doing that in 2015.
Right, we were.
Yeah.
We were.
So this came out July 3rd, 1985, directed by Robert Zemeckis, produced by Steven Spielberg, starring Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson, and for at least the first one, Crispin Glover, which we're not talking about the real life kind of like lawsuits and everything, but I will say, just because we are a legal podcast, Crispin Glover kind of changed the game because of Back to the Future. They used his likeness in part 2, even though he didn't want to be in part 2. And legal precedent set. Can't do that now. Can't use that likeness anymore.
Well, and I had forgotten about the recasting of Jennifer into Elizabeth Shue, because I had crushed way harder on Elizabeth Shue, and I was super happy to see her. But her the way that they had to work to make her hair look the same and refilm the last shot.
The entire last sequence. So we are going to talk about all three of them. Part 2 and 3 were filmed at the same time. They came out in 1989, 1990, respectively. So let's get in our little legal time machine and hit 88 miles per hour and get right to it. We're going to go movie by movie here.
Okay.
All right. So Back to the Future, Part 1. Let's address the elephant in the room right now. Okay, look, the big thing that's probably on your mind, Marty and his mom. Obviously, his mom is in love with him. She doesn't know it's his kid. We're not going to talk about the real life legal implications of that, because if we did, this show would get very, very dark, because those real life cases are not charming. They're not funny. They are horrific and terrible. So look, you know it's wrong. You know it's bad. You know it's against the law. We're done with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something else. Let's start at the beginning.
Go away in the comments.
Yep.
Keep going. But his
no.
mom kissed him. But his mom kissed him. Yeah.
We're done. We're done with that part.
All right.
But let's talk about this. Towards the beginning of the movie, what powers this version of the DeLorean is plutonium, stolen plutonium
from the Libyans.
From the Libyans, he built them a fake bomb and got the plutonium, and they come back for it.
And he was so proud about it too.
Yeah, there's a lot of like things that you just have to take at face value. Like I always use this as an example, but it's like the way that movies have changed, where it's just like I don't think in today you could have a movie with Doc Brown and Marty McFly where people would not need a 10-minute scene explaining how they know each other and why he's hanging out with an old. It's just like because he is,
Because he is. Just because he has really cool amps.
Yeah, why
for the
wouldn't
guitar.
You? So plutonium. Are you allowed to have plutonium?
No.
Is there no? There's a law that says no. What list? Is there a list somewhere where I can see what things I can and can't have?
Yeah. You're not allowed,
Great show, great legal analysis. Yep.
Roll credits. No, you can't. No, you can't have plutonium. It's
Why?
radioactive. It's bomb material. It's no, you can't.
Okay, so it's purely.
It's on a list of things that you're just not allowed to own.
Do you know anything else that like elements that are not allowed? Is it just because like?
Damn it, Billy! I'm a lawyer, not a scientist.
Is it just because it's like? Anything that could make like a nuclear bomb or anything like that?
Yeah. That and, once you had it for a while, you'd go bald and your hair would fall out and you'd have
yeah, I'm sure like
nuclear radiation sickness, poisoning,
that's
whatever.
Interesting. Do you think if anyone around Doc Brown's workshop like ended up with like cancer or anything that they could
Einstein. Poor Einstein.
That dog is not going to live long enough anyway. It's a dog. But I'm saying like,
wow, friends, go ahead. That was not me. I will not be the most hated man on the internet.
I love
for this episode.
By the way, that I just said like, let's not take this show too dark. I'm like, it's a dog with cancer.
Radiation poisoning for a dog.
No, but okay, radiation poisoning, I guess, is a thing that I've never even thought about.
Well, I mean, that's why. I mean, going to the film, that's
Sure.
why they had the suits. That ended up being a major plot point. I mean, not even just from a protection standpoint, which illustrated how dangerous this was and
Sure.
the reason why you're
Right.
not allowed to have it.
Okay.
But then, obviously, then he was able to become Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan later.
So what happens if you did get caught with something like getting caught with plutonium can't be the same as getting caught with like a controlled, like a narcotic.
No,
you know?
it's way worse. And at that point, you're drawing the attention of the federal government. So very likely it would be federal charges of either, having explosive materials, having materials to make a nuclear device. I mean, all of those federal regulations would apply. So I mean, we're talking big time problems for Doc Brown for that one of his crimes.
So if the federal government comes after you at that point, like would a defense attorney like you even be able to get involved, or is that a special?
Well, yes, a defense attorney like me would. I personally don't do federal criminal defense cases.
Okay.
I stay to California where I know things and know everything. But yeah, I have some very good friends that practice federal criminal defense, and they'd have a right to counsel. It's not like they'd be ghosted off to, some secret location or
That
anything.
we know. I mean, if he's building a time machine and it works, we've said this before in other episodes, like you're never seeing Emmett Brown again.
Yeah, yeah, that's super secret. The circle that had Lex Luthor's nameplate in it. Those people are
Yeah.
definitely going out and ghosting Doc Brown and bringing him in to take care of the time
He's
machine.
next to Miles Dyson in some collective of geniuses that know about time travel. All right. So we did talk about the dog. Let's bring it back to the
Yes.
dog.
All right.
Einstein is the first time traveler, the first living time traveler.
Right.
Would you consider, like, okay, let's say at that very moment, somehow the police all came right as he sends Einstein,
Right.
and Einstein comes back. You can't just test on an animal willy-nilly, right? Like, how do you do you have to get permits or?
Well, unfortunately, if we go down his lack of permits
Yeah.
rabbit hole,
But it's hilarious
know.
because they ask him later in the movie about the weather experience.
Right,
Like, yeah,
right.
I've got a permit for this. So it's like
Yeah,
he will do it.
I got a permit for this.
Yeah.
So I mean, how many other movies have we seen them try the scientific experiment on the animal, only to see the animal come out the other side as a pile of goo? I mean, I was thinking about that rewatching the movie and prepping for the show. I mean, can you imagine if he opened up the thing and it's got the ice all over it and it went like we've seen in some other movies?
Remember, like Ant-Man, that poor sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just
Yep.
Einstein goo on the front seat. And but I mean, so is he good for animal cruelty for sending him? Probably not, because he didn't intend for anything to happen other than the fact that it was, the
But-
watch was a minute late.
Okay, hold on. He didn't intend to, but
Right.
how many people have no intentions of committing a crime but do it anyway?
There's a lot.
Yeah. So
And thank you, every single one of you. I appreciate you for that. My family thanks you too.
so you can't just say like, well, no, not animal cruelty because he didn't mean to, but
Well,
it's like he
but-
still did it.
But I mean, there are a lot of crimes where the intent element is important.
Okay.
And so there's negligence with animals, and arguably that's what he would be good for. But I don't think we can argue that he put Einstein in a microwave. I mean, he
Kind of.
Well,
I mean,
but-
that
well-
might be less radiation than whatever he just put him in.
well, but I don't know. I like dogs more than you do, so
Whoa.
I feel bad for dogs that get irradiated by plutonium.
All I said was that dogs don't live as long as people. That was my
You
point.
have given me so much trouble on so many episodes. I'm so glad that I finally have
Wow.
something to hang
he
over
puts
you.
on a vest and he thinks
I know.
he's
Now
yeah.
I'm Billy Business.
Okay. So Marty gets away from the Libyans.
The Libyans.
Yeah. Drives into 1955
Yes.
and crashes through that barn.
Mhm.
Now, he must at some point take out that tree because it's no longer the Twin Pines Mall
Right.
at the end. It's the Lone Pines Mall. So, wrecking their barn.
Right?
And could you get him for like getting a monument or like a protected thing, even though I don't know if those pines were that famous at that point?
I can't believe that the Pines were famous at that point.
Yeah.
So not so much like a monument or anything like that. But if I drove my DeLorean across your front yard and
Sure.
knocked out some trees and whatever, it's vandalism. It's destruction of property. So he's good. Well, he's arguably good for all of that. But then
But he was
You
in
know,
fear for his life, so it was like an
Right,
accident. More
right.
It's him leaving, right?
So I mean, the law school exam aspect of just the fact pattern, right?
sure.
So he arguably didn't know that he was going to land at the front door of a barn,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So first of all, I mean, that is an accident, but it would be like, I don't know, if a cow jumped in front of your car. I mean, cows don't jump, but you get what I'm saying. Like
They do jump over the moon.
they do. So you'll be glad for these lighthearted jokes once we start talking about Biff. So, I mean, there's not an intentional vandalism, right?
Okay.
It's an accidental car crash.
Yes.
So I think it's an insurance claim. It's for the crashing into the barn. People make accidents, with their cars all the time, and that's why we have car insurance, and that would be how that would go. Taking out the time travel element for just a second. So he crashes the barn, but then guy starts shooting at him, right? So
Right.
then he's in fear for his life, but he's also trespassing in the barn, which is not residential. So it's not a house. So it's not residential burglary. It's outside the curtilage of the house. And then So then he's trying to get somebody off his property. He's not necessarily wrong, the farmer, to shoot the gun because he's afraid for his family and he's trying to protect his family's life. But then Marty is fleeing for his life, and so he's got a legitimate, accidental hit for the pine. I still think he's got an insurance claim for the pine, but not a crime for the pine.
But you've said before that you can, at least in California, Hill Valley is not a real place, but I assumed it was California. You said you can meet deadly force with deadly force, but Marty's unarmed at that point when the guy's shooting at him.
Right.
So I would say that the Farmer John is in the wrong on that one.
Well, it is, but if I catch someone in my kitchen going through the drawers,
you can't shoot him.
You bet your ass I can.
In California? No, I thought that was
if they are in my house, and I think that they are there to try to harm me or my family, then yes.
But
I can use.
Okay. Wait. If someone's like rifling through your kitchen,
once they're inside my house,
but you can't shoot them in the back.
No,
you'd have to be like, hey, get them to turn around and then shoot them.
I would make sure that I would have them turn around first and then shoot them in the face. Yeah,
but that's not meeting deadly force with deadly force. That's just
I would defend them, that person that did that, really, really well. That person being me.
Okay. I feel like I've seen Dateline stories about this happening and people go to jail for killing someone that broke into their house.
Well, that's just because they didn't do a very good job of getting him to turn around and charge them so that it looks like you didn't shoot him in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, there we go.
There you go. Good to know.
Simple as that.
By the way, we don't give real legal advice on this show. This is all hypothetical and all pretend.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so later on, he meets his parents. We get the scene where he interferes in his dad getting hit by the car. Let's start with part A of that.
I love that scene.
Peeping Tom, George McFly, which, by the way, not just like peeping, like the whole binoculars, the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my life.
For sure.
Let's just start with that.
And then the other thing that I picked up on the rewatch was one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car again.
Yeah. So
this isn't the first time that Grandpa has because he is Marty's grandpa. Hit somebody with a car.
It was the 50s, man.
And it's also not the first time that tree branch has been used in some way that caused a kid to fall into the middle of the street.
Yes. I don't know if they were all Peeping Toms, but okay, let's assume.
So maybe they were just hanging out in the middle. And what about a tree branch that covers over?
That seems.
And he's so far out on the branch, and the tree is on the sidewalk but when he falls, it drops him vertically, like right in the middle of the street.
Because it's hanging over the street. That seems like a liability for that homeowner, because if that branch falls in a car. But anyways, let's say that...
That's good legal analysis.
Well, we both went to Fullerton.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, let's assume that a police officer was walking by and just saw George up in the tree with his binoculars. What happens then?
It's peeping. There's a specific.
Is it literally called peeping?
It is called peeping.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a penal code section that specifically makes it illegal to look into somebody's house, and to do that. And so. But
what if I'm okay? He's very deliberate. Like there's just kind of no two ways around it. But like let's say George was on a walk and he was walking down the street, and Lorraine is undressing in her room and she's got the window open, which she does in the movie, and he kind of looks up and sees it. Like there can't be a law against just like looking at a window.
No. There's not a law on that. And some of it involves the expectation of privacy that a person would have, which I don't know. With the way that she was right in front of the window, how could you not see her at sidewalk level across
with
the
street?
Curtain?
We're not victim blaming, by the way.
Not at all.
We're just trying. I'm just trying to find the nuance.
What's the expectation of privacy if you're standing in front of your window facing the street and you're undressing? But it's so very clearly meant to be Peeping Tom, and
Right.
ha ha ha, isn't that funny? Because it's back in the 50s, and ha ha ha, Peeping Tom, ha ha ha. So I mean, today, I mean, there's trauma behind that. There's
Sure.
seriousness behind that. It's a very dark, serious crime, and we see it. I mean, it happens.
Okay, so then after Peeping Tom, Marty's the one that gets hit with the car, which apparently Grandpa just hits kids with cars all the time. It's just a thing.
Right.
Takes Marty in the house. So many things wrong, but like probably should have just called the cops right then and there.
Probably
right?
should have called the cops. Probably should have taken him to the hospital. Probably should
Okay.
have called an ambulance.
Okay.
I mean, if he's unconscious, laying in the middle of the street, which
Right.
is he hits his head like hard. I mean, poor Michael J. Fox, like that. I mean,
He
it, loo-
does.
it
I
looked.
I watched him like, oof. I hope that was like a fake rubber street because you do see him snap his head. Yeah.
He bounces just a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, he hits it hard. So I mean, you don't just take somebody that you hit with a car and lay him in your bed.
In your daughter's bed.
Yeah, it was unclear. I don't know if it was in her room or not. It was
Or
a little
the guest
unclear.
room. Yeah, I don't
But it
know.
certainly was enough in her room that
She took his pants
she
off.
undressed him. So there's that.
Is Marty, would you say that he does a little identity fraud going by Calvin Klein, or is that just can I call myself anything I want?
I don't think at that point, I don't think he's committing any more identity fraud by adopting the name Calvin Klein than he does in the third movie adopting the name Clint Eastwood.
That's true.
So I actually love all of the names that Marty decides to adopt. And by the way, it's not that he necessarily adopts it.
Right. She calls him
his
that.
own mother gave him that name.
That's true. That is true. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit, and this is where things start to. Okay. This is where, look, in the body of a comedy movie, I think we're willing to suspend some disbelief.
Mhm.
But this is where, like, yeah, it gets pretty bad. Okay, so he's trying to set up his dad with his mom.
Mhm.
And the whole time they run into bully Biff Tannen, right? Biff Tannen, for most of the movie, I would say, is kind of your stereotypical bully, just kind of beating up on George, wanting to beat up on Marty and everything. I don't know if you'd go so far as like assault and battery. I know he kind of
Oh,
pushes
no, I do.
before
Assault and battery. Oh, yeah.
Before the prom.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate Biff.
I
hate Biff.
Sure.
Hate Biff. Because you're supposed to hate Biff.
You're supposed to.
You're supposed to hate
yes.
Biff. But Biff, this is where I get a little soapboxy.
Okay.
Because Biff is a commentary on where we were in the mid 80s with this aspect of bullying. And this is I watched this movie with my daughter and who is 18, and so it was really interesting to also see some of this through her eyes. If we look at this as 1985's commentary on 1955,
Sure.
then I mean, in the mid 80s, there was a lot of romanticization of the 50s. And I mean that's why in the late 70s we had Happy Days as a show that all took place in the 50s, and the music Huey Lewis and the News has a super 50s vibe to it, like all of that. So this was Robert Zemeckis' commentary on what 30 years ago was like, and so they're a lot more loose with all of those rules. But if we look at just Biff Tannen and every single thing that horrible, awful bully criminal does in this movie, in the entire trilogy, I mean that's what he's there to do. But I don't think we even would have somebody like that in a movie today. I think that we would have a different kind of a villain because the stuff that he does, the bullying that he does, is just not acceptable today. And I gotta say, I think it's not acceptable today because 13-year-olds like me saw that movie and could see that reflected in the schools, could see that reflected. That's stuff that we had to put up with, was the bully that like, oh, he's just being a bully. Kids will be kids and blah, 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 blah. Well, all of us that are now grown up and making rules and policies are saying that's not okay. You don't just get to hit somebody in the head sitting on the milk counter. I would charge him with battery, like right there. I mean, from every single thing that he does that's offensive, every single push, every single touch, every single punch. It's hard to suspend 2025 logic
right.
on this 40-year-old movie.
I mean, that's a point that they, and what makes that movie so funny, that they bring out in 21 Jump Street, which is where they send Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum back to high school, and Channing Tatum's like, wait a minute, everyone that used to be a nerd are now the cool kids, and yet bullying is very different. So yeah, like I think if they had romanticized Biff in this movie, it would be a different story.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. But just like, the casualness of like the sexual assault and harassment is
it's crazy. I messaged you and I talked about the Pete's Dragon effect, and I want to take just a second and talk about what that is. So Pete's Dragon was one of my favorite movies growing up. I thought it was so cool. Pete's Dragon, if you haven't seen it, is about a boy and his imaginary cartoon dragon, and it was such cool special effects because they put a cartoon next to live action people, and that was a big deal for early 80s. And but Pete's Dragon, when I watched it with my kids about 5 years ago, opens with this song about how all of the hillbillies are chasing him through the marsh. And they're calling him out because they bought him fair and square to do slavery work on their farm. And this traumatized kid who gets beat, punched, put him in the sack, hit him and scratch him till he don't talk back is the song. And then my kids are looking at me like, wait, what? This is your childhood? This is a Disney movie? The Pete's Dragon effect is, we have a tendency to really romanticize a lot of the stuff that was on TV. And it was really hard for me to put aside that, especially when my job in the rewatch was, what are we going to talk about on the show?
Yeah.
Right? And now taking that to Biff, my God, everything that he does is a crime. Everything that he does is a crime.
Yes. But no, I'm not defending Biff. No. I'm just saying, like, again, I think where I come from in terms of like the Pete's Dragon effect or whatever it would be is like, but as long as it's not romanticizing. And it is like, you're supposed to hate Biff. He's a villain.
Right.
He's supposed, now, the things that he does in this movie, the villainous acts that he does in 1955 and even 1985 are just not something that would happen, especially in a post-Me Too era.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's hard to say for sure. Like you say, like, I'm watching it with my kids. They're like, Dad, how could you like this? It's like, well, it's not like I'm pro-slavery. It's not like I'm pro-sexual assault. We knew back then that they were a villain. It's just like, maybe we don't make as much light of it now because we've been more exposed to victims' stories and traumas. Like I said, especially post 2016, 17, when the Me Too movement started. I do think a lot of what happens in this movie, and kind of what I said at the very beginning, which is like with the Marty and his mother thing, like it's played for laughs and it's designed in a way that's supposed to be more charming. But when you apply it to 2025 standards, it becomes much more, I hate using the word like, so problematic now, but we're just more aware of what these real world traumas would be.
Yeah. I mean, with Biff, there's a scene and we might be getting more into this scene later, but where he pushes Lorraine back.
Yes.
And she falls, square on her butt.
Right.
Which is one of the least crimes that he does over the course of especially that scene. But in that moment, I've had cases where people have been arrested for pushing their girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse back and having them land on their butt. It's a crime. It's penal. It's domestic battery.
Yeah.
So, and I've definitely seen filed cases with that much conduct as charged as a crime these days. So when as much as I'm super enjoying my puffy red ridiculous vest that I've got on today, when the premise of what we do here is apply real world legal analysis to a show.
Right.
Oh, Biff.
I mean, let's talk about that scene, because up to that point, like I said, and again, maybe this is my lens of like, he's a typical movie, TV show bully to that point.
For sure.
This is where, and I think as an audience, we're supposed to feel this too, where it crosses that line into like 100% criminal.
Right.
I don't know. I'm going to assume, obviously, I don't think Thomas F. Wilkins was 17 when they did this, but I'm going to assume the character of Biff is about 17, 18 in this.
Yeah.
Let's assume 17.
Let's assume 17. No problem.
Is he being charged as an adult for an attempted assault at this point?
Yes, absolutely. He could be charged as an adult. Someone who commits a serious and violent felony at the age of 17. We have a procedure now where the district attorney's office can file a motion to pull it out of juvenile court and bring it to adult court.
Yeah.
And so certainly what he does is a serious assault. It's a serious crime, and it qualifies for prosecution under adult court. So
attempted, right?
Even as an attempted crime. Yeah.
So then,
because there's aspects of it that are, an assault just in general. I mean, thank goodness we don't know everything that happened in the car. They leave a little bit to the imagination, but I mean, everything that happens in the car is an actual assault and then an attempted bigger assault.
Plus, he tells her, I mean, basically harasses her throughout the whole movie, like, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna do this, and then does it.
Right.
So let me ask you this part too. So George opens the car door expecting it to be Marty, but it's actually Biff doing this thing. He ends up punching Biff's lights out.
Right.
Is George legally, not morally, but legally justified in beating the snot out of Biff for what he is doing, or is he going to get his own trouble for assault and battery at that point?
I'm going to answer this intentionally, really, really narrowly. No question, it's 100% defensible. George did nothing other than stop someone from being hurt.
Okay.
And so, and at that point also, he's got his arm twisted behind his back, and Biff's trying to break his arm. Lorraine's in the background. You're going to break his arm. You're going to break his arm. So, and he lays him out with one punch.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I guess, it's not wailing on him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I have seen cases where, sometimes people get charged for something like that. But it's so defensible, and it's so clearly defensible. I have a case right now where someone put his hands on a girl at a bar, and the other guy came over and said, "Why'd you put your hands on my girlfriend at the bar?" And he said, "Well, all I did was this." And he pulled his hands behind his back and said, "This is all I did, but next time I'm going to do something worse." And the guy turns around and George McFlies him right in the mouth. And of course, it's self-defense. What I have an issue with is the whole setup and the plan. So that's why I'm saying George McFly, totally defensible on the punch.
Okay.
But George and Marty set up the whole plan, right?
It's a bad plan.
It's a super illegal criminal plan.
Okay.
Right? And they decide together.
Wait, you're telling me that it's against the law to pretend assault somebody?
They sit there and they plan an assault on Lorraine so that George can be the hero.
Even a pretend one.
Even a pretend one.
Okay. Not
Because
justifying
it-
Marty, by the
and-
way. I'm just
and
asking.
I'm sitting there listening to it because I love Marty McFly, especially
Yes.
in the first movie. I love Marty McFly, and I'm listening like, okay. So George then asks, so why is she going to be angry with you? And he says, well, nice girls get angry when guys, and he turns around with the bra in hand. Are you going to, he's like, oh, no, you're going to be there to stop it and everything. But he's making a plan to put his hands on Lorraine, again, separating the whole mom thing completely.
Yeah.
Just the plan
Mm-hmm.
to, all right, I'm going to the under the sea dance with this girl, and I'm going to make her angry with me in the car by doing something inappropriate to her. And George is in on the plan.
Conspiracy?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They're both good for it.
Okay. But that would require them to basically rat out either one. Like,
Well,
someone would have to.
Imagine if it had been successful and Lorraine found out afterwards and said, "Wait a second, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?"
Yeah.
I mean, Lorraine is, again, Lorraine is 1985's version of the 50s. So Lorraine is starstruck about, people who bump their head in the middle of the street. Lorraine is starstruck by somebody who can defend her, and
think it ever came up later in life? Like, they're just.
God, I sure hope not. I hope that's a secret that dies with everybody because, my goodness, can you remember how romantic that was? Yeah, we
Let's
set
name
that
our
whole
son
thing up.
after the guy that I met that we conspired to
Yeah.
assault you.
Yeah.
Okay. Look.
He was we set that all up just so that you would like me. Ha 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 ha.
Okay. So the whimsy covers a lot of this. All right. I get it.
But it's uncomfortable in the movie at the time.
It is,
So
it
we are
is.
making the point
Right.
that yeah, super problematic. Yeah, it doesn't age well. There's a lot of movies that don't age well.
Sure, right.
And I would say most of this movie ages wonderfully well. Just the funny conspiracy awkwardness. This was not the best plan.
No. And it also goes a little awry because I think Marty is surprised at how,
Right.
His mom's are drinking and smoking and just,
Right.
yeah. So there's, yes, there's comedy there,
Yeah.
if you can believe it.
But then also, and I'm doing this. You can go ahead and go backspace, delete your comment. I know she says, well, Marty, it's not like I haven't parked in a car with a boy before. So arguably then she's consenting, and arguably it's not that. I mean, so she's not upset with the plan.
But they still conspired to do,
For sure.
to do a crime.
It doesn't take away the crime.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
But then if you kiss someone, like if I reached over, no, of course, if I reached over right
Where's
now to
this
kiss
going?
you, it would be. That's for the Patreon, folks. That's for the Patreon.
Yeah, I
folks.
don't do it for
Only-
any
only
less
the
than
big bucks.
$10 a month.
But I mean, if I walked up to somebody on the street
Uh-huh.
and walked right up to them and kissed them on the mouth
Mhm.
without their permission,
Mhm.
it's an assault as well.
Right.
So then arguably is Lorraine good for forcibly kissing Marty in the car? And
That's kind of like the follies of youth, though, right?
for sure. But now we say it's the follies of youth. I absolutely have seen filed police reports, filed criminal cases with someone who gets kissed against their will. And so I mean, we have laws that apply to all of these situations now. So it's, while I can suspend my disbelief and just enjoy this awesome film, my whole task was putting on my lawyer
Sure.
hat and watching this movie.
Okay.
And,
Well, then let's stick on the issue of consent for just a second.
Yeah.
So after all is said and done, now Biff has been pretty much neutered,
Right.
and he becomes a different person. Marty gets back to the present day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes, as we said before. Twin Pine Mall is now Lone Pine Mall.
Right.
He's oddly enough, they live in the same house, but somehow they're rich now.
Right. And the truck.
The truck
The
is
truck of
yeah.
his dreams.
So my question is, sticking on consent, Marty has changed everyone's life.
Right.
Mostly for the better, for Biff for the worse,
Right.
even though we don't like Biff and he doesn't deserve good
Right.
things.
Right.
Is there any sort of legal issue you can think of where like he changed everybody's life without anyone's permission, anyone's consent, anyone's knowledge?
Right. Right. So I mean, there's the only thing that I can really think of that is similar to this,
Okay.
right? Is somebody does something bad that puts some other things in motion,
Right.
and almost the only type of thing you could think of would be like a product liability or something along those lines, right?
Okay.
So, we've talked before about the Ford Pinto case. If they knowingly put, a car on the road that was going to hurt people, that sets some things. I mean, if that was done by a time traveler,
Sure.
the time traveler executive at Ford would be good for all of, the things.
Yeah.
I think the issue then though becomes proof and knowledge, right? So no one except for Doc Brown and Marty know what they did to change things. No one knows that there's this alternate timeline issue thing going on, and so I think the only way that Marty would be responsible for arguably ruining Biff's life would be if they could prove it somehow, which they can't. I mean, it's almost erased.
You're
Okay,
wrong.
let's hear it.
You're wrong.
Let's hear it.
Let's move into Back to the Future Part 2 because you are wrong. Biff absolutely finds out that his life was changed,
Right.
and then he does it himself. So we will talk about that. But first, let's talk about why or how we get into Back to the Future Part 2, which is Doc Brown comes back at the end of Back to the Future Part 1, which is very skillfully recreated for Back to the Future Part 2 as well.
Yes, it is.
He says, we got to do something about your son.
Your kids, Marty, your kids.
His son apparently commits a crime in the future. So Doc takes Marty and Jennifer by default because she just
Right.
happened to be there, which the
Right.
writers have said, by the way. They're like, if we knew we were going to do a sequel, we never would have had Jennifer there because then we have to ditch her right away.
Right.
But anyways, I digress. So he brings Marty in to stop his son from doing a crime, but I'm just like, not the best plan. Why didn't you just do it yourself? You don't need Marty for that.
Right. Well, Doc Brown's plan was to use the tranquilizer gun that apparently everyone just has.
You didn't have one in 2015?
I did not have one in 2015, as it turns out. But way off in the future, 30 years in the future, 10 years ago, everybody had tranquilizer guns, and apparently, his plan was to just trank Marty Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
which would have meant that he would have been, I don't know, back in the next to the dumpster in the alley
I
or
think so,
wherever, and then wouldn't have met Biff to be a part of the plan.
Griff.
I'm sorry. Griff with his
Griff.
bionic implants that made his voice do weird things.
Which my favorite line reading of the entire trilogy. Since when did you become the physical type?
Wow! Since when did you become the physical type?
I love that line. It is my favorite line. We get a little Elijah Wood in that scene. It's
right,
great.
right.
It's
He's
great.
playing the video games. This you have to use your hands. This is like a game for babies.
Yeah, but it's a baby's game. Okay, so my question legally is, Doc knows this crime's going to happen. He's interfering. Is Doc at all like on the line here of being like, hey, you you could have stopped this, like, but now you're kind of like, I don't want to say harboring a fugitive because he's not, but it's just like, hey, you have knowledge of a crime that's going to happen and you didn't tell the police, you tried to intervene. Like, are you part of this now? If it happened.
No, it's a good question. If I know that somebody is forget if you know that somebody is going to commit a crime,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a legal obligation to say, hey, I heard these two guys at the Taco Bell talking about how they were going to, get some extra beans.
By the way, I love that you just assume I'm hanging out at Taco Bell all the time because you're probably not wrong, but just like the most astute characterization of me that you've ever made.
Well, I wanted to stay on brand because we know that Pepsi was a major feature in this
and
film.
I prefer
so,
Pepsi over Coke. I
right?
do.
And then Taco Bell.
Yep, I did. Taco Bell's my Achilles heel.
Right.
Anyways, sorry, what were we talking about?
We were talking about if you knew that somebody was going to roll over the Taco Bell
Okay,
and you didn't do something to stop it,
sure.
we don't have laws here in California that would punish you for that. Now, on the other hand, if you said, hey, instead of going through the front door, there's a side door around the corner, now you've helped. So now arguably maybe you're tied to it in some way. But you just knowing, like overhearing, being aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's probably the best defense for Doc Brown is that he knew about it and didn't stop it. I mean, I can think of 20 different ways that he could have stopped this crime short of going back to 1985 and picking up Marty and tranking Jennifer in the car.
Yeah.
And then leaving her in an alley where she then gets picked up by police. As it turns out, in 2015, the police did not have the neckline that these two very beautiful female police officers had. So I love that, 1989 had this idea that by 2015, police officers were going to be all hot females with necklines down to the middle of their chest. So it's a utopian future.
It's a choice. Look, when I was rewatching Back to the Future Part 2, I did notice that it's like, obviously they got a lot wrong.
Right.
But there are some things in there that they very much got right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like
the one that got me was like and we'll get to this scene in a second,
right.
but in Marty's house he has TVs, but when they're not being used, they're art in picture frames. That's 100% a thing now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I
Zoom calls.
I agree with you. Zoom calls. I mean, anybody who rewatches that movie today is not going to understand that the idea of interactive video screens is
like insane,
you know,
or that big of a
right.
TV for that
right.
matter.
And I mean,
like Marty has his in his office, like in the fireplace, like mounted. I'm like, yep, that looks like mine in my family room.
pretty much, yeah. I mean, I was in court this morning on Zoom.
That's true.
From up here in Ventura County down in downtown LA,
Yeah.
I was in court. So I mean, there's a lot of things that we just completely take for granted. I did love though, and this is going off the legal track, but I did love how the "you're fired" facts, they're 85s or 89s. That's when this came out. 89s idea of super advanced technology in 2015 was fax machines in every room of the house.
A printer in every room.
Now, a printer in every room, we're here. But I mean, it was a
even
fax
that,
machine.
like, I feel like tell us if you are a Gen Alpha and you have a printer, let me know, because I feel like even that is like no one has a printer anymore unless
Yeah.
you're.
My kids use Dad's printer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like we go to the office and print this. Look, we're getting a little out of order, but since we're at this scene,
Yeah.
with the chits will never know. I love needles, which you're like. By the way, hilarious. Doug is watching this. And he texts me. The only words he says, "Needles is flea," and I'm just like, if I had no context, I would think you were stroking out because I was like, but yes, Needles is played by Flea from the Red Hot
Yeah.
Chili Peppers.
I just forgotten.
But let's go back to the "You're McFly, you're fired" scene, right?
Yes.
So he does something that he says is illegal. We don't really know what. I assumed it was like embezzling, some sort of embezzlement scheme.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, is he just lucky that he only got fired? Like, and was that a legal firing?
Great questions.
Also, wait, one more add-on question, because this was something I actually have never caught. I was looking this up on Reddit, and someone said, look at this part. I was like, ooh, I've never really noticed that, even though it's right there. Right before Needles hangs up, and maybe this is obvious, actually. Maybe I'm just outing how stupid I am. But right before Needles hangs up, he quickly looks off screen like this, as if this is all a setup that maybe the Jits is standing right next to him.
I definitely got that sense.
Okay, I did not.
Yeah.
I've never picked that up before.
Yeah.
Could you classify this as entrapment? That maybe this was a setup just to get Marty out, even though he still did it.
Right. There's two different ways of analyzing and looking at it. One is the employment law perspective, which some of my very dear friends are employment law attorneys, and I'm talking to you right now, and I hope the horses are doing well. And we end up seeing him getting fired, so the employment law issue. But if it is, let's just assume, just for argument's sake, it is embezzlement.
Right.
You know, it is he's giving Needles some trick to hack the system and break into the bank, or whatever it is. We definitely see that, and we see that. I mean, I get embezzlement cases across my desk all the time.
Yeah.
And if he is conspiring to embezzle or help somebody to embezzle, that moment that he gives the information that he agrees to do it is potentially the moment. So potentially he could be good for the crime right there. Whether or not it's an okay reason to fire or not depends on whether we apply 2025 legal knowledge to future 2015 and assume that California is still an at-will state, and that
And
you
that
can
it is
fire
California,
somebody.
because we don't know.
Yeah, because there is like the farm aspect of it, but it was definitely shot, like the mall shot was definitely shot.
Sure,
in
yeah. I'm
Lancaster.
just saying Hill Valley
So-
is not a real place, so there's
Right.
no way to know.
So just for argument's sake, applying California law, California is an at-will employment state. You can be fired for anything. He's not in a special class, so
You can't be fired for anything.
you can be fired for anything unless you're a protected class.
Well, you can't fire someone because they're a race or.
That's what
you
I'm
know.
saying.
Okay,
That,
so
protected class is what I mean.
wh-
So
which is
for race, gender,
age.
age. Then there's a list of, and we've expanded that list here in California substantially. So, but Marty is a middle-aged white man, who
disabled, kind of.
because of his hand, because he can't play guitar anymore, because he sucks playing guitar now.
I would look if
Okay,
I'm
cool.
if I'm Marty's attorney trying to
Alright.
get his job back.
All right. I send over a demand letter that you fired him because of his hand disability.
Maybe his disabled hand dropped the security tag into the scanner
Just accidentally.
because it's so injured.
Right.
That's what I'm arguing with my legal degree.
Wow. Good thing I'm defending the company on that. Because yeah, I mean it's a good firing, and it's clear. What we haven't talked about though is applying the knowledge, the legal knowledge that we have now, that I possess now in 2025.
And me too.
By osmosis, because we went to the same undergrad. I've only had 2 degrees since then, but that's for another story for another time. When we go back on this and we're applying 2025 knowledge to future 2015, we also know that they are arrested, tried, and convicted and sentenced within 2 hours,
Right.
because they got rid of all the lawyers.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, we
an
find
obsolete class.
we
at this
find
point.
out from Doc Brown. I mean, good thing the podcast's going off, because sometime in the future here, they'll get rid of all the lawyers,
You're
and I
just
won't
gonna
need to
start
go to court.
disappearing like the enchantment of the sea. All right, so let's talk about the main kind of problem, or I guess the main plot point of part 2,
Right.
which is Marty gets a gray sports almanac that tells him who's going to win all these major sporting events for the next,
Yes, yes.
40 years, 30 years. Obviously, it ends up in the wrong hands with Biff, blah, 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 blah. But let's assume that Marty's plan was fine. He got the book. They went back. He started betting and everything. In the real world, our world, like what is that? Like if someone has insider knowledge, I mean, we've seen it in sports before, with sports betting, and obviously boxers throwing fights is just such a cliche in a lot of those mobster movies. But it's like, what kind of charge or what kind of crime are you looking at if you know the outcome of a sporting event that you can bet on, at least in certain states?
Wow. And I think your example of the boxer is probably the best one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know Pete Rose in baseball got in trouble, for betting.
But he wasn't throwing games; he was just betting.
But they didn't like that. It's really hard to think of a real world analogy. Like if you, I mean, how would you know the results of the Super Bowl? I mean, how would you know the results of the World Series?
I
or the
guess
Stanley
like
Cup?
the only way that you could know, and it's getting a little bit away from the Marty thing, is
Yeah.
like if there was like, assume Marty and had told a couple NFL players, like, I know you're gonna lose, so lose, like, throw the game essentially,
Right.
and here's what the score is gonna be, and we'll
And I'm not sure what laws would apply to a sports player who throws their own game to
Mhm.
bet on it. Let's just leave it, to that. So sports friends. By the way, that's the universal sign now, I think, on the show. Maybe we need a shirt for that. Just the Doug doesn't know. Talk to the audience and friends in the comments. Let me know what betting against yourself
Okay.
and throwing a football game.
Well, then let's try to narrow it down even more. Maybe it's like cheating at a casino. Like, like if a dealer, is cheating, or someone's like counting cards or something like. Well, counting cards isn't illegal though, but
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
You just get beat up and thrown out the door,
Which you can't
is
do.
what I hear.
that's. I mean, if Marty Scorsese's Casino is what I think it is, then yes,
Yes.
you can keep the hand or the money, but you can't have both. Okay, so maybe there is no law broken. If he was to go back and have all this knowledge, it's not. I guess he's not telling anyone to throw a game. He just knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he just knows, I mean, it's hard to put a real world
I can't think of
example
one,
on that.
yeah.
I mean, somebody reads in the tea leaves that the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl, and so they bet on it. Or it also seemed like the reason why Biff was so successful is because he found these super long shot things to bet on, right? Because I mean, in the Super Bowl, I mean, unless you bet on something really strange and
That's when you start like the parlays and
right,
yeah.
then that's the only way that you make like big money, I hear. But he found these long shots. He found these like 1 in a million shots, and that's how he got his first $1 million, and that was on the front cover. So I don't know that he's committing crimes for that. I think it's the Doc Brown ethical issue.
So yeah, I guess maybe that's where you just leave it, where it's like, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it's more of an ethics issue than a legal issue at that point.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not aware of a legal a legal problem with that or a legal analysis. That
It's
would
just
get them in
crazy
trouble.
because in 2025, where
Right.
we are as of this recording, like in the last 2-3 years, maybe even less, like sports betting has exploded.
Right.
And it's not like it's a new thing. Like betting is a pastime, but for whatever reason, like online sports betting is just like a major thing now.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, like, if there isn't already, there's got to be laws that are going to come where, like, there's so many companies now that are getting in on betting that it's just like, yeah, at what point are we going to start having things be very arranged, or you know what I mean?
Right. Or even
predetermined
allegations of it. Somebody
Right.
loses big, then they sue the company or something along those
I
lines.
will tell you, and this could just be passionate sports fans, but on social media, around every end of NFL season, you will find thousands of people that are like, well, the NFL is clearly rigged. It's pro wrestling. That is the team that they wanted at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only other thing that I could think of that the advanced knowledge, it doesn't apply to sports, but insider trading. You know, I think they made it a lot cleaner by making it sports betting rather than insider trading. Because I mean, what if, it was, hey, you should buy some shares of this little company called Facebook or this
Yeah.
little company called the Google or any of those things, or Apple. Right? I mean, at this point, 1955, watch for that Apple stock, watch for that Microsoft stock. If they had done that, then you've got some insider trading issues. Now, proving the insider trading is completely
Rough.
different
Yeah.
because I mean, how do you prove that Gray's Almanac is how you got your insider tip and that's legitimate in some way, but someone who does have insider knowledge, I mean, that's what Martha Stewart got in trouble for and
Yep.
actually did some prison time for. So the insider knowledge from a business perspective, from a stock trading perspective, that is a problem. But I don't know, they keep it to sports betting, which is a lot cleaner.
All right, once again, we find ourselves, let's get to Biff. What'd you do now, Biff? So, funnily enough, like the least problematic things he does is just steal the DeLorean for a joyride to the past, and he brings it back.
Right.
Which
10852 of the penal code, which is, the vehicle code, which is vehicle tampering, joyriding, that kind of thing.
so it's not
It's
as
still
bad.
it's not as bad, but it's still a crime.
Yeah, he does bring it back. But then we get, is it President Biff? Is it just King Ruler?
I don't know.
Biff?
I kind of got the sense on the rewatch that it was real estate mogul with very manicured orange hair Biff. So it's hard for me to answer your question specifically.
Sure.
But
Gotcha.
clearly he's turned the town square into
The Paradise, the hotel,
the hotel
the casino,
with strippers and
yeah,
drugs and stuff.
and lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Where do we even start with this? Domestic violence against Lorraine again.
Yeah. Yeah.
He killed George,
Yeah.
and he's about to kill Marty
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's attempted. I mean, it might. I'm trying to think if it really rises to the level of attempted murder for Marty.
he does. He
But-
points the gun at
Yeah,
him.
he
and
points the gun at him, tells him it'll be a lot easier if you jump off the building, and so he does jump off the building. It's just that he's saved by the flying DeLorean. Flying DeLorean defense, which
mean-
I've never used yet.
I mean, it's
Yet.
almost a moot point to talk about the legal things because at this point, it's clearly like, well, there kind of is no law for Biff,
Right.
You know, like it's like, who's gonna bring him in? You know,
Yeah, I mean, what's fun to do is to do some freeze frames and zoom in on some of the newspaper articles and stuff like that. Like, there's some really cool Easter eggs in the background about him trying to get new laws passed and him making gambling legal and him doing different. So we definitely get the sense that this is a super rich guy who's changing laws to suit his needs.
Good thing we're just at the movies, right?
Good thing. Good thing. It's all
Um,
fiction. It's way in the future, except it's 10 years ago.
Yeah, you got to think fourth dimensionally.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on now to Back to the Future Part 3, which takes place in 1885. Honestly, there's not as much to talk about in this one because we're in the Old West and like the laws of today. I mean, if you didn't think they applied in 1955, 1885, whole different ball game.
There's a reason why they call it the Old West, the Wild West.
The Wild West.
And there's a reason for that. But, as a fan, it was so nice to get back to a tone of a movie that was not so focused on what you loved about it, which was showing the utopian future, right, and then the dystopian future, but the Jaws and and all the different things, and now we're just
fun.
and now we're just
fun.
going back to cowboys and wrongly dressed cowboys who then get new outfits. I love the commentary, 1989's commentary on 1955's version of 1885.
Yeah.
So they send him back with maroon jeans
and like the tassels
and boots and everything like that, and it's somehow doesn't work out. 1955's idea of what cowboys looked like was not completely accurate.
Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought that the 50s would have got anything wrong?
So we find out that Doc Brown is killed by Mad Dog Tannen.
Right.
These Tannens, man.
Yeah.
They've just been
Yeah.
hanging around for a long time. Over a matter of $80, which I looked it up, and the equivalent I think is about $2,700. So less than $3,000. So my question to you on this was, look, there's no two ways around it. He kills Doc in some form of, now obviously the whole point of the movie is to undo that and make sure that doesn't happen. But in the reality where it does, is it, if you're a judge and you're handing down a sentence for murder, is the judge going to be slightly more lenient if it was like, I caught my partner cheating, it was heat of the moment, I just was out of my mind and I shot them, versus like, yeah, they owed me $20. It's like, really? For that? Like, if he had been like, yeah, he owed me $2 million, like, my question is like, as a judge kind of like, you killed him for that little amount of money, you're getting it way worse. Or is it, okay.
No, I would agree with you. The judges that I know would be outraged that you value human life so little that you took someone's life over $80 or even over $3,000.
Yeah.
That's despicable and horrible. And yeah, the judges I know would view that differently and would view that as it tells a lot about the person who pulled the trigger if that's your value of human life. It's worth it to you to kill somebody over, even if it is $2,700, versus the guy that I shoot for catching him in bed with my wife. Right, yeah. He's getting shot, and
well, it's also the difference between like premeditated and
exactly, yeah. The heat of passion murder is actually manslaughter. It's voluntary manslaughter. When you're caught up in the moment and there's so much anger or emotion involved or anything along those lines, it drops it from murder because it's not as much of an intentional act as a spontaneous, I'm so angry and I killed somebody.
Whereas Mad Dog is literally like, well, I can't kill you tomorrow because I'm busy.
Right.
And I've got 2 robberies.
Right.
Like, no one's going to stop this guy. I get it. It's a movie. It's a comedy.
Well, I would be interested in any of our historian friends who might know a little bit about the law of dueling. I didn't get the sense. Do you remember? Did he just like shoot Doc Brown in the back and that was it, or was it like we're gonna meet in the middle of town at noon?
I never got the sense. Like with Marty, I got that sense.
Yeah.
With Doc, I got the sense that it was just like, I'm gonna get you, but maybe it was. I don't know.
So either way, I'm curious about the legality in even if it's the justice of the peace or the marshal or the sheriff or whatever, like what's the legality in the old west of high noon middle of the street duels?
It's crazy
Because-
that they used to be able to just be like, you want to shoot each other and just see who walks away, and like that was
Well, as long as it's fair, as long as it's in the middle of the street.
Hamilton, baby.
Right, as long as it's in the Hamilton duels. I
Yeah.
mean, and I see it so much. So my legal knowledge is based upon a lot of research through cinema.
Right. Clear. I mean, that's how I became a lawyer.
Right. I mean, not so much from my impeccable knowledge of the history books, but I'm super curious about that. I mean, think about it today. If you and I got angry with each other
Mhm.
and we just decided to go get a couple of guns
Mhm.
and go out into the middle of the street here and just wait until it's noon and then using my calculator watch, by the way, because Casio makes great calculator watches. Casio should be a sponsor then. I mean, I just did this huge shout out. I'm just saying. But if we went out to the middle of the street today and decided that we were going to see who could pull our gun out faster to kill the other person,
Yeah.
that's not okay. That's
Sure.
multiple levels of crime.
Sure.
but we had I don't know when the dueling statute started or ended or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Maybe like someone, like an innocent bystander got shot once. Like, maybe we should.
maybe not.
Maybe we should put some brakes
Or
on this.
maybe just because we make rules doesn't mean it's okay to just murder somebody you're angry with in the middle of the street. But then they show up. So
Yeah.
maybe they're consenting to being shot. But
I mean,
good Lord.
honestly, it's a little down the ways, but I'll give you guys at home a little sneak peek. I cannot wait until we do our pro wrestling episode where literally it's just like, you stole my car, you did this. We're settling it in the ring.
In
you
the
know?
ring
Yep.
with a folding chair to the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're absolutely doing that. Okay. So then to get home, the DeLorean's out of gas. There is no gas. So they got to strap it to a steam-powered locomotive. Doc says, we're going to have to kind of steal that. We're going to have to, hijack and commandeer this train, but we're just borrowing it.
Right.
Is it any worse to steal or hijack a train than it is any other vehicle?
I don't think there's a whole lot of legal precedent for stealing trains
I
these
mean,
days. But
These days, but I'm sure.
well, in the Old West, my legal research from the movies is that bank robbers they go and hijack trains so they
Yeah.
can steal the money out of it
Right.
because that's apparently the only way you could move money around is on a train.
That's the way you could move everything around if it wasn't a
well,
horse.
Yes, this is true. But gosh, if this was stealing a car, I don't know if the same Grand Theft Auto statute would work if I took me an Amtrak.
I was going to say, like, if I just went into and hijacked an Amtrak, like, we have laws clearly about, like, hijacking planes.
Right,
And you carjacking people.
right.
What about a train?
There's got to be a train jacking statute. There's got to be.
And you don't know this?
No, I
What if you
don't.
have a client call you tomorrow? I hijacked an Amtrak. Help me.
I'm going to give him my legal knowledge that I know from the movies.
Well,
well,
I hope that you had a DeLorean attached
there's
to it.
this statute from 1885. They call it the McFly statute for some reason. And it makes...
By the way, we started this whole podcast just so I could poke holes and find things Doug doesn't know about the law.
It works.
Look, Doug is one of the best defenders in California, but if
Thank
you
you.
steal a train, maybe don't call Doug.
You know what? I'm kind of okay with that.
Fair enough.
If that's the one case that I lose out on, stealing an Amtrak train.
All right. Well, as fun as it is poking holes in your legal knowledge, let's see what you at home, the fans, have to say. Let's see if you can stump Doug. This one comes from Eric. Does Biff have a case? Come on, Eric. Does Biff have a case that he was just checking on Lorraine's car before he was assaulted?
No.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. Nope.
No. There's no defenses for Biff.
No.
Just period, zero. And maybe that's 13-year-old Doug who had one too many bullies, but holy cow, no. He wasn't just checking on Lorraine. He was checking on Lorraine, but he wasn't checking on Lorraine.
Yeah, then Yeah. No.
Yeah,
So,
no.
we appreciate you writing in.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, we
No.
do, but no. Answer is no. Mike asks, and I don't know if this was ever in question, but Mike asks, who legally owns the DeLorean? How is it not
Ooh.
Doc Brown? It's his car, right?
I gotta believe that Doc Brown owns it,
Right.
because there's in the very first scene at the Twin Pines Mall, he talks about how if you've got to do it, you might as well do it with style. Plus the stainless steel, I don't know, I'm probably have the metal wrong. So it definitely seems like he's the one that owns it. It definitely seems like he's the one that built it. So
I guess we should say 1985 Doc Brown owns it, because like when he goes back in time, like 1955 Doc, that version of Doc doesn't own it.
right, and if we're 1955 Doc wouldn't own it, right? 1985 Doc would still own it,
Even though he's dead. Oh, okay, maybe that's what Mike is asking. Like he dies in 1985,
right?
and we have to assume that he has not put a bulletproof vest on yet, because that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So does it just, I guess it falls to whoever is next of kin. It'd be in
it-
probate, right?
It would be in probate. It would be next to kin. Like imagine if this was valued, right?
Right.
And it was a $1 billion valuation. So I mean, this asset that he has is huge. Then yeah, Mike. I mean, he's gonna have to go through probate, and that's how legally that would sort it out. Unless he had the foresight to say, I leave my workshop, my dog, and my car all to my good friend Marty McFly.
I don't think he did.
I-
But
I-
technically,
I
Marty's
don't-
driving around with a stolen car, then, right? If it legally belongs in probate after Doc dies,
Maybe, but the
you
reason
can't.
but the reason
take
why
something.
no, you can't
Yeah.
take something that belongs to somebody else for sure. Can you hop in a car that belongs to your friend that was just gunned down by Libyan terrorists to get away from the terrorists because they're shooting at you now?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's an emergency, exigency sort of a thing. Then he crazily ends up in 1955.
Okay.
I mean, it's not even clear that he intended to access the flux capacitor. So I don't know that he, intended
Sure.
for the DeLorean to end up in 1955. So I don't think Marty's stealing, but I do think the legality of who owns the $1 billion time machine is something that would have to go through the courts, unless he had a will.
I take it back, Mike. That was a good question.
Yeah, it was.
Linda asks, if you travel back in time, can you be prosecuted for crimes committed then when you are back in your present time? So this is kind of a statute of limitations questions. If Marty had done
Kinda.
something horrible in 1955 and they were looking for Calvin Klein,
Right?
or they had a picture of him in a wanted
Right.
poster,
Right.
shows back up in 1985, and they're like, it's been 30 years, but I think I found that guy. He's right there.
Some of it depends on the crime,
Okay.
right? If Marty,
Well,
if-
we know that he conspired for
well,
assault, so
yeah, and there's yeah. Let's not deal with that one because it
Sure.
gets dark really, really, really fast.
All right.
Let's say that he ran over one of Biff's goons,
okay,
right?
sure,
Murder.
okay,
Let's just arguably say like it was intentional murder. There's no statute of limitations on murder, so there you go. And so I would argue that the crime that happens in 1955, because we know back in 2015 we've all stopped using driver's licenses and we just use thumbprints for identification, because that's
Mhm.
how Jennifer ended up dropped off by the hot police officers at her house. That's the thumbnail, folks. There we go.
You're really hung up on those police officers, aren't you?
They were so cute. They were really hot. I mean, pause it, friends, and go back and you definitely get a little shot of
Struck a
some
nerve.
V-neck.
Okay.
Like I've never seen a police officer look like that. Even in the future,
Yeah.
2025.
Well, which is now your past.
Which I'm not saying that there aren't beautifully attractive police officers. They're just usually not walking around arresting people.
No, they're not
with-
standard
with-
issue
with V-necks.
uniforms.
Yeah.
So
But you know, some of this ends up getting super complicated because we start applying time travel rules, right? And what are the time travel rules? And you know, so
not necessarily though. Like if take take our knowledge of time travel
Right.
out of it. You just assume he's been hiding out for, well, never mind.
But see,
because he's legally he's only like 16, 17, so it's like, how could you have been hiding out for 30 years?
as soon as you say let's apply what we know about time travel, it reminds me of Avengers Endgame,
Right.
where Tony Stark ridicules Scott Lang because he's like, well, you know, if we run into a past version of ourselves, doesn't the universe explode, or you know, whatever he says.
Sure.
Tony Stark, are you using Back to the Future rules for time travel? That's not how quantum physics works. So if we learn, knowing what we know about time travel
Mhm.
from
a different fictional movie.
this wonderful trilogy that set all the rules for time travel from physics perspective, my eye is twitching. What if we flipped it, and what if it's a 1985 crime
Mhm.
done by 1955 Biff?
Mhm.
So can Biff be prosecuted in 55 for something he does in 85, or does he have to wait until 86 to be prosecuted for what he did there? Oh.
Okay.
Back to the Future time travel
Yeah.
rules. I love it.
I'm
This is why
tired.
Tony Stark was so mad.
Are you seriously telling me that your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future? Isn't it? No. Good. You had me worried there.
All right, let's get to our last question here. This is from Alexandra. This is a good one. What is Doc Brown's liability with what he puts Marty through in the trilogy? Now, I don't know exactly. I would assume that Marty is 16, 17 at most. So he is probably
Yeah,
still,
yeah.
I don't think he's 18. But
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't get that sense at all.
Right.
I mean, with Strickland, you know, calling him a slacker and going through the halls, we
Right,
definitely
right,
get the
right.
sense that he's kind of, at most, he's a senior in high school. So
Right.
and for purposes of answering Alex's question, let's just keep it at he's 17.
Sure.
So there are definitely crimes that involve contributing to the delinquency of a minor, putting a minor in danger.
Wait. Delinquency in what sense?
Yeah, great question. So making them do bad things.
Okay.
So there's laws about, just as an overview, as an umbrella, there are laws that specifically say you can't endanger a minor, you can't put a minor, you can't encourage a minor to go and drink alcohol.
He
can't.
doesn't do that.
He doesn't do that. But poor Marty,
Yeah.
you know, would have never been exposed to Lorraine drinking the bourbon from
Oh.
the car if
Please.
Doc Brown hadn't,
Is
you know,
it-
recklessly left his, you know, his dangerous plutonium-driven time machine right there in the middle
Is
of
this
the parking lot.
DA Doug talking right now?
Maybe. No, but I mean, the answer is no, because we love Marty and we love Doc Brown and we wouldn't want anything bad to happen to
Right.
him. But if we're gonna make it interesting,
Okay,
I
so
think you know,
okay, so I'm sorry. I think the alcohol thing is like, no, throw that out. Plutonium,
plutonium.
sure.
But then again, he also does give him protective gear. So if we take the ridiculousness of plutonium out of the equation for a second, if an adult takes a minor
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where it's something dangerous, you know, but gives them protective gear to, you know, it's one thing to take, you know, a group of kids on a field trip and making sure that they're protected. You know, they have protective glasses on, you know, for you know, going through the wood shop or you know,
Sure,
whatever.
right.
And arguably, Doc is in the clear because he gives Marty the Darth Vader hazmat suit.
But what if Marty had caught a stray bullet from a Libyan? That would be on Doc, right?
That would be on Doc.
Yeah.
Assuming the end of the movie, Doc.
Yeah, who has a bulletproof
who has a
vest.
bulletproof vest on and survives.
Sure. He does force Marty to steal a train. Well, not force him, but that's the only way back.
Certainly encourages him to steal a train.
I mean, he doesn't give a whole lot of option. He's not like, "Do you feel okay with this plan, stealing a train?" He's like, "This is what we got to do."
I mean, but then the question is, how old is he really by then? Because it certainly feels like he's aged 5 years, but he hasn't.
No,
because if we go back to the timeline, time travel rules. He's only 1 day older. No matter how many months he was in 1885, he hasn't aged a day, or has he?
So he's been gone for I think 3 weeks total, if you add it all up with the adventures. But yeah, he always goes back to the next morning after whatever happened.
To the future.
Yeah. I'm sorry. we got to end this episode. I'm so tired. All right. Now it's time for the speed round, Doug.
Let's do it.
All right. So, for the charges of peeping, for peeping and maybe conspiring to commit an assault or being a part of it, are you taking George McFly's case?
I think I am taking George McFly's case, and the reason why I'm doing that is I think I'm going to argue that Lorraine undressing in front of the window facing the street, she had no expectation of privacy, and I'm going to try to do that. Plus, we didn't really address this earlier, but he is a juvenile, so I'm going to argue for the juvenile rehabilitation programs rather than incarceration. I'm going to make a difference for George.
Okay, for both things, for both the conspiring and the.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought we were just talking about the street.
No, sir. No, sir.
I don't know that I want to have anything to do with what happens with their conspiracy to commit assault to try to get the parents back together.
As a defense attorney,
yeah,
George comes to you.
Right.
Here's everything I'm getting charged for. Can you be like, well, I'll represent you on that, but not this thing?
I could. I could, but I wouldn't, because it makes more sense to package everything together.
Got it.
So that one's kind of a question mark for me, because I think that with George's involvement in the conspiracy is low. So maybe if he said, yeah, this guy said he was going to do something in the car, but it was vague and unclear, then maybe that's a way. But I feel yucky even talking about that. So I mean, it would be tough. It would take a lot of lawyer money for me to defend George.
Okay. Well, as long as we're on this train, I'm trying to think, do I separate this out? So let's say 1955 Marty McFly.
Okay.
So he has destroyed the barn. He has conspired to assault. Are you going to, if knowing what his intentions were, are you going to take Marty's case?
You know, it's interesting.
1955.
1955 Marty. So I'm clearly a fan, and we know how I feel about defending people that I think are cool.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it's really despicable. On the other hand, Marty actually has something going for him from a defense standpoint that we haven't addressed that George doesn't have, which is this is in order to save his life, because he is actually disappearing, right? I mean, if George hadn't gotten the courage and turned around and kissed Lorraine on the dance floor, Marty wouldn't have stood up and hit that chord so passionately on his guitar. So, but that's one thing that potentially there, if I could establish that this is not that different than the bomb strapped to the neck or the gun pointed at the head or, some sort of, I am in danger for my life if I don't do this. And then potentially arguing that, honestly, he was a little chicken, we know. And he's mad right now. So somewhere, Marty McFly, the character, is itching because somebody called him chicken. But and then arguing that, he was never going to do what Biff did to Lorraine. He was just gonna, maybe suggest that they kiss in the car, and that was about it. And nothing bad. And I like the idea of putting 1955 Marty McFly on the stand, and he's just so likable, and
Sure.
and him just explaining, I was in the middle of a absolute psychosis breakdown
Yeah.
because I believed that I was traveling in time.
All right, so then let's do 2015 Marty for potentially embezzlement. We're not sure, but something illegal. Are you defending double Windsor Marty?
Those ties were just so great. Friends, I almost tried to duplicate the double tie for the episode and just wore a suit with a double tie. That would have been awesome. I think I would take his case. I think that assuming for a second that we have 2025 lawyer rules rather than 2015 lawyer rules, because we know that lawyers don't exist in 2015 anymore.
Right.
So assuming that I could take his case, I'm going to take it and argue that the giving of the access code or whatever wasn't a significant part of the conspiracy, or that it was at most an attempt, and try to argue it down, because it seems like I agree with the thread. It seemed to me like it was a setup. So it's more of a sting operation, doesn't have as much harm. So yeah, I can think of a lot of things to defend 2015 Marty on.
Okay, 1885 Marty for stealing a train, which may or may not be a crime. We don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm doing that all day, every day. I love the idea of defending him from stealing an old-timey Wild West train. I love everything about that.
Your first train jacking case
Oh my
for
gosh.
Ridley Defense.
We have to start somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's do 1985 Doc Brown for stealing plutonium, or not even stealing, for being in possession of plutonium. Theoretically, whether it worked or not, we actually didn't talk about this either. Whether it worked or not, he did agree to build a bomb for terrorists.
Right.
So.
Right. I think.
Oh, and possibly animal endangerment by sending Einstein in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm gonna defend him. Yes, I'm gonna defend Doc Brown. On Einstein, I'm going to argue that there wasn't really a danger to Einstein because he was so sure of the science. I mean, that's what I'm going to argue. That's
a terrible argument.
Oh, it's a terrible
Doug.
argument,
Yeah.
but that's the only argument there
That's
for
true.
that is that he would never put his dear Einie in any sort of harm.
Okay.
And so, he knew it was just going to be a ride through the parking lot, and that was it. For the working with terrorists to make a bomb, I'm going to defend him on that, because I'm going to say that he actually saved lives by thwarting a terrorist plot, and instead put it in the Delorean rather than allowing it to be made into a bomb.
Yeah,
and
he
doing
made
that.
them a dead bomb. He tells Marty
Right.
that he specifically made it so it wouldn't
And he's
work.
so enamored with himself. I mean, I'm one to throw stones, but I laugh at everything that I say. But he's so proud of himself. He's like, yeah, I made a bomb. It was just a box of wires. Yeah.
Okay. So what about 1885, Doc? For train jacking.
Oh yeah, no. I'm going to build that practice area, and I'm going to build it in 1885 so that by 2025 I will be 40 years of experience. No, I'm sorry, 100. How many years is that? 140 years of experience. 140 years of experience.
Use your watch.
Let me see. 1985 minus 2025 plus 1885 equals 140 years of experience.
Okay.
In train jacking cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's going on the website. I mean, we will SEO the heck out of that. Anybody that looks for train jacking cases.
Yeah. California's authority on
Ridley's your man. Doug defends train jacking.
Amtrak's #1 nemesis, Ridley Defense. All right. We knew it was coming. I'm just going to lump them all together.
Yeah, go ahead.
Any Biff Tannen.
No.
No Biffs.
No Biff.
No Biffs, no Griffs, no Mad Dogs.
No Biffs, no Griffs, no Mad Dogs. No, and we've talked about this on a couple of shows. There's just sometimes where, for me, it's just a bad fit. And, assuming all of the things, all of the assaults, all of the domestic violence, all of the everything that he does, that Mad Dog does, that we see him lift it in Back to the Future 2. We see Biff lifting up Lorraine's skirt in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want some of that. All of those things. He's entitled to an attorney for all of that. As a private criminal defense attorney, I get to pick my clients.
Sure.
And there are definitely lots of clients out there that would love to make that kind of, or lots of attorneys out there that would love to make that kind of a case and would love to work in that kind of a case. I'm just not one of them. I think he's despicable. I think he's violent. I think he's dangerous. I think he's sociopathic. I think that even if he has a defense that I can't even think of, I'm just not the guy for him. Just not at all.
Well, Doug, you may not be the guy for Biff, but Doug's the guy for you, especially if you're out there really sweating about you stole a train and you don't know what to do.
140 years of experience as of today.
We want to thank you guys at home for watching or listening. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, if you're listening to us, leave a review. It definitely helps. Give us 5 stars. If you're watching, especially this far, please hit the like. Drop us a comment. I don't know. Maybe something about trains. Maybe about something about anything at all that you want us to.
Tell me what I missed. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, Doug loves it when you give him not so constructive feedback. Absolutely loves it. Thank you guys so much. This was a fun one today. We will see you guys next week.
Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?